Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Eat Well, Be Well Health Bite. My name is Lesia Kohut, Soul Excavator, and I am here with my friend, Dr. Clara Seeger, who is here to tell us today a little bit about how we can engage in more mindful eating. So, Clara, if you would please, could you just introduce yourself to everyone, let them know a little bit about who you are, what you do, and where folks can connect with you if they would like to learn more about you.
Right. Well, hello and good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Clara Seeger, and I'm really happy to be here with you, Lesia, and everyone else who's joining us. A bit about me. I have a background in investment banking, and and I left that about 20 years ago, actually, and trained as a coach. So I specialized in emotional intelligence and mindfulness, neuroscience, and mental balance. And I've just brought everything together under this one umbrella and my key and favorite term, which is sustainable well-being. And so what I do now is I work with highly successful professionals and leaders in the workplace, but also beyond, and who seem to have it all. You know, they seem to be very successful and everything seems to have worked out in their lives, but they're still suffering from some underlying dissatisfaction, which can then manifest in different ways, and stress and anxiety and burnout, being workaholics, etc. And so what I do is I help them bring themselves back to their minds and bring their mind back into balance so that they can access a type of well-being, which I call sustainable well-being, which can withstand any circumstances and which is not dependent on external circumstances being a certain way. So that's what I do. That's what I'm passionate about, and that's what I cultivate myself as well in my own life. So that's what I want to share with everyone, because that's the key to well-being in the end.
Right. So what I'm hearing is, because you started off with, you come from a world of investment banking, it doesn't really matter what you're doing, what you're involved in, where you are, there is always an opportunity. And from where I come from too, we're always on a journey of self-discovery, you know, whether we're aware of it or not. We're always on a journey of evolution, of discovery, of exploration. And when we engage in it more mindfully, that's when things can really start to shift. That's when we can really affect change and create a better quality of life for ourselves. So with that in mind, would you like to share today one tip or some kind of nugget or bit of wisdom around mindful eating that our listeners today could engage in, so that they can perhaps start to cultivate a better quality of life for themselves in that one area of life?
Yeah, I was thinking that, one tip in terms of working with cravings in particular, and I think a lot of us have them, right? It's one of the things that comes up, and something that I experienced myself, because I tend to like a little bit of chocolate after my dinner.
Right. You're not alone.
It's one of the things, and it's kind of, I like the taste of chocolate, but it's also a habit, of course, and it becomes this kind of automated thing, and the brain kind of also kind of hardwires it, and it's almost, you have your dinner and then you need your chocolate.
Yeah,
that was my experience. And when and a few years back, when I started practicing mindfulness, I thought to myself, well, you know what, I'll just do my mindfulness practice, and then I'll have my chocolate later, right? And so I sat down and I did a short practice, 10 minutes. And what I found was that after that practice, I didn't really fancy the chocolate anymore. And that was such an interesting shift, because, I still like the taste of chocolate, but I didn't have to have it.
Yeah.
So reflecting on this, I mean, this was my own experience, and it worked. And then I started using that more consciously and started sharing that with people. And it's really, when we have these cravings, it's like an obsessive desire, right? And that desire overrides what's happening in my body, what's happening right now. And I just want that chocolate. right? And so when we do the mindfulness, we come back to ourselves, we come back to our body, we come back to the present moment. And that way we break that automaticity where we forget about ourselves and we just grab the chocolate, right?
Yeah.
And so the tip is really set your timer, your alarm on your phone, you know, and just try doing it for 3 minutes. And all you need to do is you set the timer and you just come back to your body, sitting wherever you're sitting. And you can, if it's helpful, and I found this helpful, just focusing on your abdomen, just to stabilize your attention. And not looking at your abdomen, not imagining it, not visualizing it, but just kind of placing your attention, your mental awareness on that area.
Yeah.
So that when you breathe in, you notice it expand. And then when you breathe out, it flattens. And that's all you need to do. You just breathe. You don't need to breathe a special way, no deep breathing or special breathing. Just breathe as you always do, you know, actually more aware of it this time.
Yeah.
And just let your body breathe with your mental awareness on that kind of rise and fall of the abdomen, and do that for 3 minutes, breaking that automaticity of wanting to go for that, whatever the food is that you're craving, or drink, in fact. And do that for 3 minutes and see how that might affect that craving. So that's my tip. And it's very gentle, you know, all you're doing is just focusing on your breathing, and you don't have to suppress the desire, the craving. You don't need to do anything special. You just kind of say, okay, I'll get to that later, but let me just kind of, you know, focus on my breath for 3 minutes, which is good anyway. And it just grounds you in that present moment. It grounds you in your body.
Yeah.
And that's all you need to do. And then you might find, and it's very gentle, you might find that that desire actually is not so pronounced anymore. And you might have introduced an element of choice where you don't necessarily need to fulfill that desire, right?
Yeah.
You have a choice, and you can say, okay, I'll have just a little bit, just because I like it. You know, I don't have to have it, but I'll just have a little bit. Or you might think, oh, well, I'll just give it a miss today. and that's it. So it's easy, it's gentle, it's kind of self-compassionate.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to hear if people try it, what they find, but it definitely works for me. So
yeah. Thank you. And it is so simple. It doesn't need any special equipment or to be in a special room or anything like that. You can even do it if there's someone around you, you know, you're watching TV together or something like that. It's not something that is like you said, it's very gentle and it's just very simple, nothing special required. Thank you very much for sharing that. It's, to me, as I was listening to you talk, I was thinking about what is it that I'm going to share? Because awareness is just such a huge factor in making change. Until we become aware of what it is that's not working, it can be next to impossible to actually do something differently. So awareness, I think, is just, it's so key. And there are so many different ways to become aware. I mean, coming back into your body through breathing, just that one simple technique is one of them. The other thing that comes to mind for me, and this is something that was, that I sort of discovered when I went through the first round of the Eat Well, Be Well 4-week challenge, which is part of the reason that we're talking together today. When I did that in the fall with group number 1, was the association with eating and doing something else at the same time, and not really being aware or sort of present for either. And one of the things that I think a lot of people do, because I've heard it, and I know for me, is eating while watching television, especially late at night. And one of the things that I became very aware of when I was in school last year was that I was in this incredible, amazing class that was so expansive, that was so like our minds were being pulled and stretched and challenged. And it just felt like we were being completely blown to smithereens with any ideas or ways of thinking that we had when we stepped into that class. And every moment, like we were just kind of being, you know, recreated anew which is what's happening anyway in the quantum realm, but that's a whole other conversation. But I felt so expanded by the end of that 3 hours, even though it was 10 or 10:30 at night. I couldn't go to sleep. And so I would sit down and I would watch TV. And because I would sit down and watch TV, because there was this habit that had formed, I would find myself eating late at night just before going to bed, which is a terrible habit to get into unless you want to not sleep well, gain weight, and, you know, a whole bunch of other things happen that are not optimal. So for me, making that realization, making that connection, just by becoming aware that that's actually what was happening. So I made a conscious choice to stop watching television after that class. And it was hard for the first few days. But then after about the fourth day, I realized how much this association, you know, sort of happened automatically without thinking. And then once I stopped watching TV late at night, then guess what? I didn't have this sort of, you know, compulsion, which I didn't even realize was there until I became aware of it, to have a snack and eat late at night, which disturbed my sleep, which, you know, blah, 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 kind of snowball effect. So yeah, so becoming aware of associations and sort of, you know, habitual behavior that we may not be consciously aware of, but that we're engaging in, that is affecting how we eat and the choices that we make around eating. That would be sort of my tip for today, is to really become more aware of what it is that we're doing when we're eating. And is it something that is life affirming and supportive and healthy and empowering? Or is it something that is actually taking away from us? And is it something that is diminishing our vitality and vibrancy and doing stuff like affecting our sleep, which then affects our energy and things like that? So these are just some of the things that we are going to be talking about in the Eat Well, Be Well 4-week challenge that is coming up. There are 2 programs that are starting. One is starting on Thursday, April 28th, and that's going to be taking place from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific. 4 weeks, 4 weekly classes, 28 days of support. There's going to be a Facebook group that you can join so that you can connect and interact with the community and ask questions in between those sessions. And there will be guest speakers like Dr. Clara, who are going to come in for one session and are going to just give us some of their amazing tips and expertise and knowledge on how to better nourish our mind, body, and soul so that we can eat well, be well as a whole. If you can't make the Thursday one, there is also going to be a Tuesday group, which is starting on May 3rd, and that's going to take place from 3 to 4 Pacific time, or 6 to 7 Eastern. Okay, so there will be information somewhere in here that you can find out more about that. And otherwise, I am just so excited for our session together with Dr. Clara, because I know that it's going to be fantastic. And I'm so grateful for your time today and sharing that tip on how to just come back into the body by simply engaging in breathing and just becoming, you know, more aware of your breathing through your abdomen as it rises and falls, goes in and out, and maybe, just maybe, not reaching for that piece of chocolate or ice cream or chips or whatever it is that you might mindlessly reach for, because you've become more aware of what's going on in your body and realizing that maybe I don't actually have to have that right now. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to our session soon.
All right, me too. Okay, everyone. So that's today's Eat Well, Be Well Health Bite. Wishing you a wonderful, fantastic day, knowing that there are so many more amazing ways to nourish our mind, body, and soul so that we can eat well and be well as a whole. That's it for now. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.